So, the Mind Games program is all about guiding you on how to be playing better games. And isn't it so true that life is often referred to as being a game? People say they're in the building game, the entertainment game, the banking game, the art game, the finance game, the car game, the property game, etc. We also like to play the dating games, waiting games, crying games, silent games, spy games, and shaming games. It goes on and on. Well, the aim of any game is to compete against, collaborate with, or disrupt even the other game players and win the prize of getting our desires met. These could be the most basic desires that satisfy our needs and security, or winning our surplus desires for luxury and wealth. And there are so many ways that we play these games with each other. We can get our desires met by playing the overt games of, this is what I want, how do I get it? We can also play covert games of, I will do this thing without them knowing. We can play the bartering games of, I will pay you this to give me that. We can also play the exchange games of, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. And we play the relational games of, do you love me or love me not? Within these games that we play with each other, inside the mind, we've established certain rules and boundaries of how we expect the game to be played. It is when these rules and boundaries have been violated by other game players that we experience the pains of hurt, frustration, and loss. The reason why confusion and conflict is so commonplace in our relationships is because we don't clearly define the terms of engagement, i.e. the boundaries that we have and the terms of which we want to play by. And thus, in most relations, business or pleasure, you've got two different people clashing or vying for power and position as they try to assert their terms and declare their boundaries. And the worst two games that we can play in life are the Hunger Games and Hunter Games. These two games are survival-based and greed-driven, where the fear of never being or having enough reinforces either a survival of the fittest or survival of the meekest type of mentality, which makes the game of life very much like a blood sport. The blood sport is played by people that are hunting for their pound of flesh or on the bones of their arse, scraping by. Either way, there is blood, sweat, and tears. You see, the Hunger and Hunter games are played with fear. With the Hunter game, one is fearful of not being the best version of themselves, of not being successful, of not having the best, or of ultimate failure. Without better conscience, the hunters can engage with unscrupulous practices to advance their desires. With a dry smile and a covert bile, they will never think twice as they take advantage, manipulate, coerce, and exploit those who are less scrupulous. The Hunter game is often played by the crazy ones who like to wear their scars as badges, desperate to swipe that big-time jackpot as they tug at the game of life as though it were the one-armed bandit. Unfazed and undeterred, they keep pulling the lever, even though the bandit game is a tormented journey of 1,000 trials and tribulations, the end game of which is to resent the game they play. The Hunger game, however, is played by the timid ones that were once bitten and now twice shy. Life has beaten them into some type of submission where they are unable to stomach anymore, and so they've retreated back from life, They're living with palpable fears of the unknown, the fears of rejection, fears of loss, the fears of exposure. They are averse to taking bold steps into new adventures, and so hold on tightly to their status quo, doing the very best to save and stay safe, which is not good when clinging on to something in a changing world. You see, the type of life that we are willing to take on does correlate with the relationship that we have with fear. Fear is a very powerful state of consciousness that elicits a pain response. When fearful of something, we associate to the fear some type of imagined or real consequential pain. Fear is the instinctive reaction to take flight away from situations. We take flight from the object of our fears to minimize risk and avert loss, injury, and failure. When overcome with fear, the focus then becomes narrow-minded to dealing with the most urgent activities that will alleviate the pain. These activities are mostly acts of desperation, where we are likely to violate our own standards if it will mitigate the fear. Fear can have you doing some pretty screwed up things just to make the fear go away. Naturally, there is a time to be afraid and extricate oneself from life-threatening dangers. Discernment is the skill that will let us know when that timing is right or wrong. Do it right or wrong, the game of life will always be fraught with things to be fearful of, and pain is always somewhere on that horizon. And given that none of us can avoid the fears and pains of life, it makes sense to progress forward and not regress backwards, taking on as much pain and fear that is tolerable and sustainable. Because the most damning risk is to cultivate a disproportionate response to fearful situations where one's life is paralyzed with worry, or one is constantly striving away from their fears on the road towards perdition. And whether you choose to push forward or pull backwards from the game of life, the worst position that you can find yourself is to be stuck inside a lifestyle routine that is unforgiving, depletes your vitality, and erodes your morale, where the lifestyle has become more of a life stinks. Whereas the uppermost aim of any worthy game is to thrive in this life, to prosper without diminishing yourself or others. Thriving in the sense that you have the full package of spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial wealth, where the greatest game that you can play is one that holds your spirit accountable to a higher cause for the greater good, where fear and pain have subsided to the tonics of love and courage, where the heart and soul is inflamed with inspiration and passion as you steer towards a virtuous destiny. So, whatever games that you do choose to play, make sure that they are games that revitalize your mind, body, and soul, where you take care of the needs that are pertinent to this precise stage of your life. And for many of us, that could mean to take a well-deserved break and just be the avid spectator of the game for a while, watching the wheels go round and round. For others, it could mean to refine their knowledge and skills and patiently await for the right opportunity before they get stuck in again. For some, it could mean to just throw caution to the wind and embark on this once-in-a-lifetime adventure. For the well-rounded individual, the ultimate game is to enjoy a varied diet of both the sweet and sour and the spicy and savoury experiences of life, where the game of life is a riveting mixture of everything that makes life worth living for. And a life worth living for needs a game plan, then game play. You see, the game of life is most suitable for the smart thinkers. We do live in a thinking world where the quality of what we think defines the quality of our experience. The thinking world is based on the rudimentary principle of as within, so without. So as we thinketh, so it shall be. Which means the type of thoughts that we have are in direct correlation to the type of lifestyle we manifest. Manifestation is the byproduct of the mind games that we play. Playing mind games in its most simplest of terms is the meanings and beliefs that we associate to the reality that we experience. Meanings and beliefs have the power to shape our perspective. Our perspective determines our behaviour, and we behave in accordance to the viewpoints that we have about reality. The meanings and beliefs that we have about money, loved ones, friendships, health, economy, the world, etc. will determine the type of energy and efforts that we invest in these different areas of life. Whether you are impoverished or enriched in the different areas of your life, you are manifesting those conditions in accordance to the meanings and beliefs that you have about them. How good or bad that you think and feel about things will determine how well you play those games. You see, the game of life is first won or lost inside the mind. We can do no better or worse than our individual perception of reality. What the mind perceives, the body achieves. Nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, the life enriched with happiness, peace, and abundance is curated from mental wealth. Mental wealth is the ultimate prize. If therefore you want to improve the way that you experience reality, you must embrace the foundational philosophy of this program. That philosophy is, as within, so without. Because when you change the way you think, you change the way you live. So tell me, how do you think about your life? What are you aiming to achieve? Do you actually have a game plan for the journey of your life? Is your mind set on a specific destination? And are you aiming for certain results? Because unless you first go somewhere in the mind, you won't go there in reality. You'll just be someone that's being influenced by the factors and forces of reality as and when they arrive and occur. Listen, some people have mapped out a plan for their entire life in the shape of future ambitions, i.e. the ideal career, the dream home, the perfect partner, the exotic vacations, the adventures, the type of luxury car that they would like to own, etc. They have a very precise plan of exactly what they want from life, and they work towards making it happen. Whereas some people are just cruising through life, happy-go-lucky and taking it as it comes. And others have this vague idea of what they would like to do and have, and yet they still feel uncertain of what they truly want from life. I want you to now imagine that your entire life is this long-haul journey by sailing boat. What do you think would happen if you left the harbour without a final destination, little sailing experience, and no chart in which to navigate the seas? What do you think your chances are of a smooth and successful journey? As a qualified coastal skipper, I know the chances of you making it are slim to zero. When unprepared to navigate unknown seas, the likelihood is that you will go around in circles, get lost, and run out of supplies. It's also very likely that stormy weather will shipwreck you on a jagged rock. And the storms of life, they are coming. So it is only the unwise that would embark on the unprepared journey. The savvy sailor, however, will prepare the boat in advance, plan the final destination, and plot a safe passage on a proven chart. The same intelligence applies to the individual that is keen to progress towards a dream destiny, rather than be swept away by the undercurrents of fate. The smart person actually figures out in advance exactly where they would like to arrive in the next 5, 10 or 20 years from now, and then they start working on a tailor-made game plan that executes the most efficient and effective methods to get there. Because whoever and wherever you are right now, within the next 5 to 20 years, for sure, you will arrive somewhere in the future. Have you taken the time out to contemplate what this future looks like for you? Most people haven't. Most people are so headstrong on playing the short game of life that they've not surfaced to focus on the long game. But the game of life is a game of balance and should be played with both the short and long-term games simultaneously. And it is the mind games that you play today that will propel you into the future. So, what kind of future do you want to arrive at? What kind of experiences today would cultivate a future that aligns with your true nature and develops your innate talents? Exactly what kind of difference do you want to make in this lifetime? What legacy do you want to create? What kind of emotions do you want to experience on a daily basis? What does the most rewarding version of your life look like? Furthermore, is the way that you are thinking about your life manifesting the results that you truly desire? Give those questions serious thought and dare to imagine how great your life could be, because until you start dreaming of a brighter future, the same old reality with the same old you comes true. Even so, what use is a dream that leaves you high and dry? You see, a great majority of people have these bold dreams, yet they never get to see the actual light of day. They remain a figment of their imagination, and that's because it is far easier to dream a dream than administer its potential within the terms of a difficult and changing reality. Reality has its funny and not so funny little ways of getting in the way of what we truly desire. There are many obstacles, diversions and distractions that can derail progress and hinder one with the kind of setbacks that dampen the will to carry on. And where most people tend to fall short of their dreams is when they start to see a vast difference between how reality actually is compared to the reality that they imagine. They lose motivation when things don't seem to be arriving on time nor turning out exactly how they had hoped for. Discouragement also halts the ambitions of those who look around at their environment and see a lack of resources and opportunity. And then they convince themselves that it is of no use even trying because what they desire looks improbable. Rather than choose to shape reality, they are allowing reality to shape them. Then there are those of us who've suffered the painful deterrent of a major failure, which has driven a stake through the heart of our dreams. So, manifesting dreams does require both long-term persistence with short-game resilience. You need a solid game plan and a sturdy game play. You need to recognize that there will be many ups and downs and fits and starts as you venture into the changeable flow of this transient and temporal reality. To realize that when the wind of fortune dies down, that you need the patience and faith to see it through the lull. When the wind of opportunity flows in, you need to be poised and prepared to adapt to the change of conditions. And even those rough patches that will fill your heart with terror and knock you off your intended bearing, they are there to prove your worth. Like they say, a smooth sea never made the skillful sailor. The skillful sailor is a master of juxtaposition, which is the ability to manage two contrasting views and positions at the same time. And we do need to hold inside the mind two different realities when manifesting something new within the old paradigm of reality. The juxtaposition is needed to envisage and work on cultivating a dream life whilst managing reality as it currently is. The juxtaposition is the ability to manifest the game plan of how we would prefer life to be whilst dealing with the gameplay of life as we might not necessarily like it right now. The gameplay is the ongoing obligations, basic needs and comforts of life that you need to manage to maintain your current standards of living. Progressing forward, therefore, is made easier when we can live with two opposing realities simultaneously, even though they might be miles apart in difference. We can move towards a dream reality that is far off in the distance whilst working the actual reality of here and now, which is similar to working the sails of a yacht, enjoying the scenery from time to time whilst sailing towards that exotic future destination that you've never been to before. So having a game plan that works towards a dream is incredibly important. For having a worthy purpose makes a worthwhile use of one's time. Even just to know that we are working towards something far greater is enough to elicit a rewarding sense of achievement. There is a warming sense of joy and contentment to be had when working each day towards something beautiful and magnificent, and especially that fulfills the heart of passion. The worthiest game plan is one that is integral with true nature, being all that we are meant to be. And when committed wholeheartedly to a worthy game plan, we call forth the kind of personal power that persists no matter what. That's because when aligned with the purpose of true nature, both the mind and soul are unswerving with intention. True nature is steadfast with conviction. True nature is strong with character. Even when those unforeseen forces of life do throw a spanner in the works and the flesh is weak, the indestructible spirit of true nature will persist with its dreams. But like I said before, what use is a dream if you don't put it to work? You see, practical dreamers are the ones that chisel away consistently, knowing that big dreams can take years and decades even to fully manifest. Practical dreamers progress knowing that better tomorrows are the results of better todays. That with each new carving of the raw stone, they are gradually unveiling the majestic sculpture of their dreams. And the Mind Games program is designed to be that game changer for you. In this program, I will give you the tools and techniques to design a worthy game plan that stokes the flames of your passion, whereby you cultivate a mental game that thinks independent of and unaffected by the world out there. This means that the entire world could crash and burn to the ground, but there you'll be, undeterred and moving forward with your well-adjusted plans. That's because with a winning mind game, you will get the results that you dream of. But before you can start winning, you need to figure out where it is and how it is that you are losing in life. You need to know why and how your mind is working against you and preventing you from reaching your truest, highest and fullest potential. You need to know how to break through your limitations. You need to now watch the Breaking Through Bad tutorial. So, see you over there.